What's up, guys? It's that time. Welcome to another edition of an Untitled Spags podcast here on a YouTube channel for the first time. And you might have seen a couple years, I don't even know how long it was, maybe 18 months ago at this point, I'd put some videos out on this YouTube channel with the goal of trying to do some more content to fill what was formerly the Guyism YouTube channel that was bequeathed back to me thanks to the company that acquired it, tanking vigorously, as along with $1 million in stock that should have gone for the assets that they had purchased, and also drove it to the ground while they owned them too. So if nothing else, you got to reward consistency, especially in 2020 of all years. But basically, what I'm going to do is I've been doing an audio podcast for the last year and change, and one goal of mine was to get a little more video out there. Everybody wants to be Joe Rogan. Everybody wants to be Pat McAfee. I don't think I'm capable of either of those things, but I do think I'm capable of talking for an hour straight and making it mildly entertaining. So if you want to strap in, hit that like button, subscribe. Hopefully don't unsubscribe, though. I am very much prepared for the concept. Much like when I put out the short videos, put out some vloggy style videos, which did okay. Like, honestly, I think I probably should have invested more effort in there, but that's the nature of the beast and the world when you have full-time jobs. But now I don't have a full-time job, so I can fuck around with stuff like this and hopefully make something useful out of this YouTube channel. So if you're watching this video, let me know who you are down in the comments. Hit that like button, of course. Help me out with that because I need to get this channel moving again. It's basically when you take over a YouTube channel that hasn't had a steady content for a series of weeks or months, basically what you have to do is get it going like a car that's batteries died. And I know a lot about that because my car's battery died during the pandemic. Of course, wasn't driving anywhere anyway because I work from home or was working from home for Osmo.com, the daily fantasy sports site. And then, basically the car died. My lease was up. And then the day that I had to give the car back, I had organized the car being picked up by having, so let's say, conditions that would preclude me from having to actually do any work myself. I think, do I have those conditions? I have asthma, so yeah, like I don't want to get coronavirus. I don't want to be exposed to any sort of situations out there, including our president, huh, fellas? Oh no, it's not a political podcast, so we have to talk about that in a little bit. So strap in if you are a person who just has to put your fingers in your ears for when anybody talks about anything political. I'm not going to start making orange Cheeto jokes or get all blue check marky about his very existence, our president's existence. But when your president gets one of the most deadly diseases around, or I guess if you're a Clay Travis follower, the most unfun disease around that's just hurting all your sporting activities in the SEC, I think you do have to be able to talk about that without it being something that people are afraid to talk about, like politics, religion, or sex. I guess those are the big three, though. The sex one, that's on the table for pretty much every day. When there are like moms at the family gatherings that you're at, wearing shirts with no bra, I feel like I don't even know why. Why did I go there? That's one of the issues of recording live to tape or live to, I don't know what the equivalent would be, but basically, I guess so you guys know, this podcast is being run like a live stream for me. I may pause for a second here or there, but I'm not going to edit it because I know these video files get incredibly long. And, the audio file was one thing when I was doing this is just an audio version. I could tinker around in GarageBand. I could pause. I can reword some things. So I have to be extra careful to not mince my words when doing this video version because pretty much one take and done is how this is coming out, at least for now. And if I decide that I continue to fuck up as I did, this is the third try, by the way, because I'm trying to do it in one session. This is the third try where I'm trying to hit all the notes that I have to hit here. And if you want to know, I guess, the past of this YouTube channel, you can go and hit the archives there. I did do a video explaining what happened with the former Guyism.com, what happened with the former website of mine, and how basically this YouTube channel came back into my possession after their company did not sell for what it was supposed to sell, which basically what happens when a company buys your company with a large portion of stock. That stock is theoretically worth something, and then and that amount is equivalent to what they deem your company to be worth, what you agree on, really. But there are some metrics, at least back then, that were pretty standard, industry standard for the most part. And then, then when the company doesn't sell, your company was basically worth not what it was supposed to be worth to them. And granted, that's part of the upside where if they became a $1 billion company, if the Woven Media Group or Woven Digital, whatever they were called, that got eventually became Uproxx Media Group, if that had been worth $1 billion, then yeah, this would be great. And you probably wouldn't see any videos from me because I would just be at home masturbating vigorously every day without a care in the world. I just assume that's what I would do with my wealth. I would go to beaches, go to extravagant beaches, and then alternate that with playing video games and masturbating for for untold intervals until just dehydrated and completely lacking in bodily fluids. That's sort of, I think that's the dream. If I don't know about you guys, tell me what your dream is down in the comments if you were to have unlimited money. But yeah, that's basically the situation, is that, now this podcast is going to live on this channel just to put some content in here. You could see if you're a person on there, usually like some dude with an Indian screen name who's talking about Katie Nolan's feet from an old Guyism speedrun video. She's moved on to bigger and better things. She's at ESPN now. You can watch her do amazing content. You can watch her be one of the really one of the preeminent young female personalities in sports media. So that's where you can find her. I don't know what Chet Siegel's doing. I don't know where I don't know where she's at. I assume still making some funny stuff somewhere out there with her comedy career that you guys got to see on this channel. And now we've gone from beautiful, talented women to me. And I guess we had Ryan on here before, so you guys are used to the idea of an everyman with a sarcastic worldview who's gonna do some shit on here. And it's actually funny to go back at some of those videos and see the millions of views that have come, because really, if you put something out on the internet 10 years ago and it was anything that was like decent and also maybe just interesting to see, like if somebody sees it on the recommended thumbnail on the right side of the page or whatever, then people will just watch it for years and years and years. We have like multiple videos on this channel which like have, I think, in the tens of millions of views now, because they hit some SEO thing or whatever. That's sort of the dirty part of this all, is that like when I put this video up, I'm probably going to put some type of SEO tagging on there that's going to be, I don't know, like President Coronavirus, and it's going to be a thumbnail of me being like, oh, that's everything on YouTube, is you're trying to deceive people in some way into getting in, or entice them. Ideally, I think that's sort of the important part, is that you want to, I don't know, I've always kind of considered online media content to be, like the equivalent of, you're a person outside of a store and you're just trying to get them in there by all costs. So you're spinning your signs, or you're like, doing a doomsday clock type thing. You're giving people something to be afraid of as a reason why they need to go and seek shelter with you. That's certainly a popular 2020 way of getting people in the door. And for me, I've always just thought, hey, if you do something mildly entertaining, people will hopefully find it mildly entertaining and go along with it. And I don't know that that's true. I don't know that's been true, been proven true over time. And I don't know that that's something that is true right now, where I feel like you got to be tweeting 20 times a day to engage your audience. You got to be on Instagram. You got to have to ideally be a girl with large breasts. I think that's sort of the main thing. And I'm trying to get these guys in a little more, as Pounding Dots Pretzels, which if you've not had them, an amazing pretzel. You can get them on Amazon Prime. They're also in a lot of supermarkets out there. And I was turned on to them because my girlfriend, her dad, I guess, gave them to her when she was a little kid. And then one of her friends got them. And when she tried them, was like, oh my God, this is that pretzel from my childhood. And unlike me, she doesn't repress all her memories, I guess. She embraces them and leans into them. And one of them has resulted in eating a lot of pretzels. And I would say that one for me, pretzels, not one of my favorite pastimes, but boy, if you are a person who likes to indulge in the occasional IPA, beer, or a seltzer, I really think any sort of alcoholic fizzy drink goes pretty well with the salty pretzel vibe. And then, maybe a little marijuana. I feel like a little marijuana never hurt anybody when it comes to enjoying the quality of a pretzel. But I would say, that's why my titties are looking so lush. That's why you're willing to get an extra handful of pretzels, because I hear that all you need is just at least a B cup, well presented B cup. That's certainly it. And then you can get the OnlyFans popping off, get the Patreon popping off, get some likes and subscribes on this channel. That's the goal here, is to get something like that. But anyway, this podcast, I don't even say who I am. I feel like this is why. This is why I usually require multiple takes to do anything. I'm Chris Spags. I'm a person who's been doing internet content now for a good, I guess, 11 years professionally, like in terms of, being a full-time job. And before that, I had a blog in college that I had started that was my first taste of viral success or whatever, or, picking up an audience, was because one of the first blogs, which is such a weird thing to talk about, in the USC area, where I went to college. I now live in LA, though I'm from New York. Did go to college at USC in Los Angeles, and we were one of the first blogs to write about Facebook, which is like such a, this is something, boy. I know you may see this backwards hat, you may see my general veneer, this the fact that I'm wearing a t-shirt in the middle of a day and not wearing a blazer like all the other seemingly adult men feel the need to wear during live streams of internet content. like I've been around this block for a while, and nothing makes me feel like I've been around this block for a while is the fact that, like, when I went to college, Facebook wasn't out yet. And then when I was in college, Facebook wasn't out for USC until my sophomore to junior year. So you didn't get the full benefit of it. Whereas like kids who were coming in when I was a junior, like they had access to Facebook. They had people on like Facebook groups was the thing back then. And they had like people who they had met at orientation or hadn't even met yet. And they're basically laying the groundwork to have A, the best friends they'll ever have, B, certainly a lot of interpersonal relations with the I don't know why this is why the one time I feel like it's this video I'm like, let me keep it classy and not refer to sex in a gross way. I'll say interpersonal relations. But that was one thing that was like, wow, this was like a game changer for so many people, but also one when you're a sophomore who's a rising junior and it's a summer between the two, like not adding as much value. I was also dating a girl at the time and living with her. It's like, oh, well, this, I really missed that first Facebook bump. Got in on the Tinder bump though, as you may know from my time at Barstool Sports and some other content I've also done afterwards about Tinder or around Tinder. But anyway, that's was sort of my first taste of online stuff, was doing that blog. Had that blog going for years while working, like you might, like working a day job, or like you might have before the pandemic and everything got ruined with all of us. And yeah, I was doing the blog while doing a full-time job in public relations, worked at WWE, worked at a agency that was terrible and run by this dude who was one of the worst human beings I've ever worked for in my life. And that says a lot if you know anything about the people I've worked for in my life. And then after that, did my last PR job, my last public relations job at a company called Bankrate, which was fantastic and really one of the best places I've ever worked in terms of being nice to me, being appreciative to me, paying me well for somebody who was in their early part of their career. And I actually like won PR awards for some of the placements that we got for bankrate.com, which does mortgage rate data, personal finance data. So if you want to find the best CD rate, you can go to bankrate.com. And actually, I think my old boss is still there too. And that was one situation where I had left there because I was starting to do stand-up comedy. I was also launching the site Guyism, and my employers knew about it, but they were supportive of it because I got my work done. Like I said, I was actually winning awards, and this isn't even me bragging. It's still baffling to me that like I don't have this award anywhere in my house. But I mean, if I did though, I probably would just carry it around. It was like a nice. I think actually we won like 2 different awards, but they're so stupid because those are things that if you haven't ever been submitted for like a trade industry award, and I think PR is the same as any other one, where you basically pay a fee to put yourself up for the award, and then you might not win, but you could still be like, oh, we were nominated for a 2020 fucking ER Cool Bro Award. And it's like 5 people all paid for themselves, and if you paid for yourself to get in, because not that many people are doing it, you got like a 20% chance of winning it. But there was still like a nice honor, and and for public relations, that actually was one that people would compete for. So I should have the award. Basically, I should have some acknowledgement that I've actually achieved something in my life. But then I left that job because was doing the stand-up, had launched Guyism, and my boss, who was a woman, had gone on maternity leave, so I had to be the direct report to the CMO of Bankrate at the time, and he had a meeting that he thought was going to like light a fire under me to work harder, even though I was doing well. Like, I think it was just one of those things that he felt like, I got to just give this kid a kick in the ass to put him on the right track. And he was like, I think you need to decide, like, do I care about these other things, or do I care about this job, and what am I going to invest in? And then I was like, you're right. I'm actually going to give my notice right now. And that was when I made my journey in internet content. And it's weird because back in the day, I would always tell people, like, because I was able to make a career out of just, this stuff, and more really the writing side and creating a website side. And I always kind of like was averse to doing the internet part of things a little bit more, where, I hadn't embraced putting my face out there. Like my old boss, Dave Portnoy at Barstool, was very good about early on just putting himself out there, putting his face out there over and over and over again. And to the point where I, as somebody who was like making a site that was similar in the site Guyism, which, is why you're on this YouTube channel, presumably, part of that was like, I think just my own aversion to it. Part of it was my lack of comfort. And it's weird because like I'm very comfortable with who I am, but I've always been kind of like, people are going to perceive you in a certain way because they see this from you. Or if you say something that's a little bit out of pocket, whatever, like, I don't know, for something like this, where I'm coming into this YouTube channel where I know you guys have watched Katie Nolan, who's now a 7-figure talent at ESPN, like to go from that to this, it's a terrible drop in quality. So I will understand when this YouTube channel subscriber base plummets to nothing and the people start seeing the videos pop in again and they go like, wait, what? I don't want, no, go away. They're holding up garlic like I'm some sort of vampire to get me out of their house. I get it. I get all that. But I think, for me, it's still something where like I'm okay. Like I'm pretty good at this. I'm certainly was good at the daily fantasy sports stuff. I continue to be good at the fantasy football stuff on the Splash Play YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Maybe I'll even drop a notation in here if I remember. Actually, I have the timestamps thing, so I can make this a buttoned up product. I'm going to make it a buttoned up product, and that's sort of the goal here, is because I guess to finish my career trajectory, so you know who you're dealing with here if you're going to invest the time into watching this YouTube video. And to all the people who are listening to the Untitled Chris Spags podcast audio version, who've been on for years or whatever at this point, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for putting up with my ramblings, the 1,000 or whatever people who've been kind enough to continually do that with very little growth, because I'm terrible at self-promotion. But besides that, like, I apologize that we're going through my background again, but I feel like it's a helpful establishing point. So from this week forward, I can just jump into these videos and not feel like I have to explain a lot about who I was and who I am and all that stuff. It's who I was is a real fucking downer way to view it. Who I was back when I was like important and valuable to the ecosystem. So then basically had the site Guyism for years. That's where you come in. That's where you, the person who might have watched this YouTube channel, comes in, where we built a cool little site. Honestly, the costs got to be a little exorbitant because that's what happens when you have to deal with stuff. We also had to deal with some lawsuits over paparazzi photos, which is something that thankfully companies now don't seem to have to deal with as much, because that's not something these companies can get away with, because a lot of those lawsuits get thrown out right away. But basically had to deal with all that stuff. The costs were adding up. We had employee costs. We had people who were, had families, like who I was employing at the time, and didn't want them to be affected by, any adverse conditions. And also I just wasn't smart enough or comfortable enough to start taking out loans and stuff in my name or the company's name or whatever. And like, I handled it poorly. Honestly, it was the issue. So that was when we sold it off to the company that's now Uproxx Media Group. And they continued basically to drive the brand into the ground. Then when I left there after my 1 year was up, my whatever vesting had occurred, it was basically a situation where I was unhappy, they were unhappy, and they were paying me a lot too for a role they hadn't fully given me, which is like to run all their brands, especially their men's lifestyle brands. And it was just a dumpster fire of a place, that also had executive assistants buying coke for the senior management people in their shared home that they would have. They had like a management apartment in Soho in New York, because the company was based out of LA. And I don't really care saying this, because this is just part of the rich tapestry of what makes me the cynical disaster that I am now. And basically just had a year of that and was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I can do something else with my life. Then after that, went to Barstool and saw the growth of Barstool from being I think when I got there, they had 5 of the cities, 6 of the cities, and then, part of my thing that I'd pushed them towards, or at least helped, guide the process along of making it a national thing, and trying to make it less about like, hey, you're talking to people in Philly, this guy's talking to people in DC. Like, no, you're talking to people in, and wherever you're talking to them. And I think that's sort of, was one of my most fulfilling things, is to see Barstool become what it became. It was working remotely for years, and went into the first New York office they had opened, and left there after really was a shitty situation for me, which people know enough about now. If you want to really dig into the archives, I think there actually might be a video on this channel of my talk about my Rihanna-versary or whatever. But basically had a situation where, was there for a while, felt like I wasn't getting the love that I had, to me, earned by just being good at what I was doing, and, doing the best I could of every situation they had of me, adverse or otherwise, including, some stuff that was not ideal that led to a one-on-one basketball game that tried to make it into something fun, even though it was a situation that had made me really uncomfortable with a person who was supposed to be an important part of the video production department, and did something I would say was not great. But it doesn't, I'm not going to bring it up specifically, because you can find it if you want, and you can dig into that. Basically, was in a spot where I was unhappy, and when I'm unhappy, I feel like I tend to want to run, and that goes from it goes for career, that goes for personal life. There's enough, if you're a person who happens to see this video who knows me in my real life and maybe has dated me at some point, perhaps they have the same reaction. But male or female, right? Because that's one of the ongoing jokes too that has trailed me now since my Barstool days. But basically wrote a blog about Rihanna that had some situations internally that mucked up the way that it was perceived. And then I was like, I just need to leave. And then because of the way that I left in a huff, then people were reporting that I got fired. It fucking sucked, and basically sent me into like I would say depressive cycle, but still one where I was like productive. And I think that's why too, like I'm always reluctant to talk about, anything for me where it's like, oh, I'm depressed, because people go through that and like can't get out of bed. And like I could get out of bed and I was able to do stuff, and I was, if anything, was getting out of bed too much. I was just drinking my face off, and enjoying the time off that I had, as well as the severance that I got from Barstool for not basically not shit talking them to the media at the time. It's one of those things that like I should have handled it differently, especially knowing where Barstool was and where it was going, and should have taken my lumps and just stayed there and done whatever, and eventually it would have swung back my way in a positive way. But immaturity, as well as thinking that there were some opportunities for me to I was in talks with people to write a sitcom about the experience, about like basically using this as a window into what a fictional version of Barstool would look like, and then moved out to LA for that reason, only to get a call as I was moving across the country from the agent that I was working with, who was like, yeah, we can't do anything with this right now, because the Me Too stuff had just started to hit as I was driving across the country. Actually, it was a real fucking bad week, because that week too was the Me Too stuff, and then also the Vegas shooting. And I remember I changed my trip to drive through Vegas after that happened, because I was like, I just wanted to, I don't know, like to connect with people there, because I was like, that's a really traumatic thing. And in Vegas too, like, for all the people who live there, life just has to go on, because they have to keep being entertaining, and they have to keep, being kind to guests coming in. And I feel like that city, to me, like the last, 5-year stretch for them, because this was, I think, 3 years ago now. The last 5-year stretch for them, I feel like, actually, this might be 3 years ago on the dot that I moved across the country. So that's kind of crazy. All right, well, that's good symmetry then for reasons to start doing this podcast, this video. But yeah, like it's one of those things that I find Vegas to be interesting, because for them, they just have to keep being hospitable. They basically have to be the friend who has people coming over all the time, where it's like, oh, cool. I don't know if anybody out there has lived in New York, anybody out there has ever lived in LA, but if you do live there and you're from, let's say, like Indiana or something, a lot of people end up wanting to come visit because they have never had a reason really to go there. Maybe they have for like a trip with family, maybe they have for work, whatever reason people go, but they want to go, and that ends up being what it is. That's basically Las Vegas as a city. It's just like the friend who lives somewhere cool and everybody wants to come visit sometimes. I think that's sort of what intrigues me about them as a city. And then as they're trying to reopen now too, where Vegas still has nightlife, it still has stuff, it still has the casinos open up, people are still betting, and betting, of course, near and dear to my heart after the last few years of doing daily fantasy and sports betting stuff for Osmo. But yeah, I think it's that was one thing that was interesting to me, that again, if you're watching this and you've stuck with this first 25 minutes or whatever, prepare for a lot of tangents. That is one of my things, and because I can't edit this, I can't get my ADD right, and I also can't do the hard work that comes with editing a video. So shucks, darn. And then I guess where else does that take me? So that takes me out to LA. And then since I was at LA, I was consulting for some people that I can't whatever. It's so stupid, but like you sign non-disclosure things. And with the Barstool one, like I could talk about things, but I couldn't talk about their business. I can't talk about like, like they made X amount this year, because if I happen to know that, which who fucking knows. But I can't like for people you sign something with, if you're doing consulting for them, like those are ones where it's weird, because they want to appear as though they knew everything. But I consulted for a couple media companies, for a TV producer, for an influencer girl who's trying to be funny, which I don't want to talk too much about that one, because that was really an amusing situation. And one too where it's like so typical of what media is now, where it was like a girl who started a meme page, and then she started posting photos of herself, and like she was like okay looking, and I think had the features that a guy on Instagram might be curious about. Again, me being classy and not mentioning her big honking titties. But besides that, it was like this situation that to me is sort of the perfect one, where now this girl has a podcast, and now I don't know if she stalled out. I think she's still doing some stuff out there, but it's like consulting people like that on media strategy and what to do with like podcasting and what to do with social. And if anything, it was actually a little bit ahead of the curve, because now in this year, everybody's got a video podcast. You see streams pop up on Twitter all the time with the Periscope streams. You see all these new podcasts from celebrities, like the Workaholics guys are doing a podcast, which I enjoy them very much. And I'm sure they'll be very funny as a podcast, but it's almost like kind of unfair for like people like me who are in the working class of like mildly talented, vague, maybe teetering on untalented, but like able to talk, able to fill the air without stopping recording. I can talk for an hour straight. So that's how you know it's legit. That's when somebody can talk without another person and just keep rambling and filling the airtime and have it at least be, teetering on entertaining or interesting. That's when you've achieved something here. But these workaholics guys are going to come in and be fucking hilarious and, and they're going to have editing and production. It's like, well, fuck, man, I guess. I guess I was a little too late doing this thing. Also, this is on YouTube. Please hit that like button, subscribe, do all that because that helps out a bunch. And then, I guess the last thing, the last part of my journey that got me to today is the last 2.5 years. I was at a site called Osmo.com, founded by a team of the top daily fantasy sports players, and focused more on that side, learning the sports stuff that I watched for years, cared about for years. I honestly barely wrote about it Barstool because that wasn't my lane, because it was all about local teams that you root for and your passions. And I'm a guy who roots for the Cowboys and now really doesn't root for a team at all, besides USC, my alma mater. But, I root for the just entertaining games, and I root for also for fantasy sports and for betting. Like, I root to not lose money is what I want to root for on a daily basis. I don't really care, like, the Cowboys being what they are, being a, I don't like to talk too much in-depth sports stuff on here because you could go listen to professional things from me on that stuff. But for the Cowboys, it's to me is one of the worst things where I grew up in New York and grew up a Cowboys fan because my dad and I had a fun rivalry when I was a 5-year-old. I thought it'd be like, oh, cool. Like my dad likes the Giants. Let me pick the team that goes against them because it'll be like another fun competition thing. Like when we played basketball or when we played board games or whatever. And I didn't realize like the Freudian context that has to really everybody you meet for the rest of your life as an adult. They will judge you fully for the team that you root for. And I think that's something that when you're a New Yorker who roots for the Cowboys, there's a lot more questions than there are answers. But for me, it was just like, oh, cool. Like I'll root for these guys because it seems like a fun thing to do. And then it ends up that they were terrible that year. My first memory of the Cowboys was Troy Aikman getting hit by Lawrence Taylor, injuring himself, getting stretchered out of that game, me crying. Don't remember anything else from the game other than the Cowboys that year. I know now as an adult, they were 1-15. Then after that, they won all the Super Bowls. And then because I was a Cowboys fan, everybody was like, oh, you're a bandwagon Cowboys fan. You just like them because they're winning. It's like, no, I like them for these other entirely weirder reasons that you can then make value judgments about me and my family for. But, yeah, that's basically, that's why sports wise, I don't really care too much, but very much learned a lot during the process at Osmo. And then left there at the end of the summer for what was supposed to be a job heading up podcasts and media for a sports betting company, a big monolithic sports betting company headquartered in Europe, only to give my notice to have a fantastic, really still something that means a lot to me was my friends over at Osmo giving me a fun farewell, including a farewell show where we just hung out for an hour, talked about everything. Like it was really cool. Like it was classy in a way that I certainly didn't experience when I left Barcelona in a huff and had to deal with all that fallout. For me, this was like definitely the kindest way that I had left a job. And then 3 days before my start date at this company that I won't name, they pulled the offer due to what I was told was corporate restructuring. And then now this. But thankfully, as a result of that, I do, did get some financial remuneration. I mean, I always come up with fun words whenever I don't want to say the thing directly, but basically did get something out of that, which is giving me the time here to try some of these projects and to actually try to invest a little more effort into these things. And that means the Splash Play Fantasy Football podcast that I've been doing with Peter Overzet, that's, been really investing time in getting that production right and getting that off the ground. And now I think it's going to be like that with this, though. It's always hard for me to like really shill this kind of thing because like I don't want to put out a bunch of clips of myself. I don't want to like just chop up endlessly video of myself to give back to put on social media in the hopes that people will follow it. So I don't know. I think for me right now, what I'm probably just going to do is just put this video out every week. Hope it's mostly competent. Hope it's mostly coherent. Hope I don't have to edit it after the fact because I don't say anything that's going to get me in trouble with the world again after the horrible horrors that were that Rihanna situation, which included death threats, by the way. So if ever you worry that people don't care enough about pop music and chicks who put their titties out there under the guise of pop music, and also people who had to apologize this week, Rihanna did have to actually, I should pull that up real fast. Let me see if I could. Let me do it on here. Let me do a little testaroo of the screen share I have because I do want to show you guys some media on here sometimes. And I feel like, and this is one too that I am going to show you guys, a site called No Jumper, which I actually know a little bit. The guys over there have had some meetings with over the last couple years, and I guess the last year. And let's see, Rihanna, Muslim. Basically, old Rihanna had to apologize. And I thought it was funny because she basically did like a no apology, apologized to the Muslim community for a song with Islamic verse at Fenty Lingerie Show. The song featured sacred Islamic text read aloud, which Rihanna said was a huge oversight that was unintentionally offensive. Let's see, the 32-year-old singer's star-studded Savage X Fenty fashion show debuted on Amazon Prime on October 2nd and was praised for its inclusivity, featuring models of different sizes, races, and genders. And then here's her statement. Let's see. I'd like to thank the Muslim community for pointing out a huge oversight that was unintentionally offensive in our Savage X Fenty show. I'd more importantly apologize boy, what the hell happened there? It's funny because I feel like when you don't have to read things aloud as much as an adult, you make these kind of faux pas and you basically become slightly dyslexic. So my apologies for that. I would more importantly like to apologize to you for this honest yet careless mistake. We understand that we have hurt many of our Muslim brothers and sisters, and I'm incredibly disheartened by this. I do not play with any kind of disrespect toward God or any religion, and therefore the use of the song in our project was completely irresponsible. Moving forward, we will make sure nothing like this ever happens again. Thank you for your forgiveness and understanding, Ree. All right, so she apologized. So there you go. So that's also, I don't even know if that one was all right. Well, yeah, I guess that tweet might not have popped up on the screen, but you can see the version on the NBC News tab. But that's something. And look, and now I'm back to me. Woo! Look at his production. Ooh, I don't know why I always feel like I need to do like a spooky, like ghoulish thing for something that's just like impressive or magical. For me, it just immediately goes to like, ooh, it is spooky production tactics. It's like, no, I was just me being vaguely competent at clicking a button and not incorrectly clicking said button. But either way, just funny given the situation that I had to deal with her, where I did not put out an apology because it was something that was a joke and should have been taken as a joke, and also was more about the concept of influencer culture. And again, you go watch my Rihanna-versary video if you want to really get that out there. I don't need to spend the rest of my life talking about this because it sucks. Like, for your life to be defined by something that was A, for me at this point, almost 3.5 years ago, and B, like just that it just becomes the thing. Like the song that I use on the audio version of the podcast, the XXX Tentacion song, the 1 minute with Kanye, like that one is basically about how people only know you for your worst mistake. And that has been the intro for this podcast for the entire time that I've done it, for the year or so that I've done it, because like this is like, people will only know me for this one mistake for the rest of my life. And you have to own it. Like, you have to maybe poke some fun at it. Like when the other day, I think it was the Raiders game, there was a call that was Rihanna, I guess, referring to like them audibling the play to the right or whatever. And like they were calling Rihanna, and I had to put out a boo gif because that's just, it's just what the brand is, our rivalry here. So I side with the Muslim community, and I will not accept Rihanna's apology on their behalf. And also, I hear Rihanna drew Muhammad. I don't like. That's just. I don't know. I didn't see the drawing. There's just rumor and innuendo that she'll have meetings for Fenty and the Savage X Fenty production meetings in particular. And while they were choosing the song catalog, she would just draw little stick figures of Muhammad. And I don't look. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know nothing about it. I just want it to come to your guys' attention. Because I'm a truth teller. That's really what I aspire to be first and foremost. Anyway, so that's my journey. And then I left Osmo for this job, and now I'm doing this and fucking around. And, and I don't know what the future holds for me. I'm talking to some people. I'm actually, part of my apprehension of putting out a podcast even more publicly is like, there's now more material for people to judge me on for whatever. And it's like, I'm not a controversial person. I say the right thing as much as I can. And even when doing shows like for Osmo, we're trying to be a little more PG, trying to be a little more ESPN. I think that for me, that was something that I embrace as a challenge, and I embrace as something to do and to get better at, and to try to improve at, and to not do that. And even for the Splash Play podcast, same thing. We're trying to not curse a lot and not lean on, the F words that somebody like me might say a lot. That I grew up in New York, baby. You gotta if you're not dropping F words, then do you really belong there? I would say probably not. If you're not dropping F words, and if you're not a construction worker street harassing a woman, then are you really a New Yorker? I feel like those are the two questions. I would never, street harassment, never a thing. We should talk about this. So here's the fucked up part: is I'm recording on one computer and I have my other computer. So here's the two computers. Here, you can't see my fingers. Here's me pointing to the two computers. I don't know what the I don't know what the point of that was. I apologize for the people who just had to deal with me wanting to make sure that I'm adequately pointing to my two computers I'm using. But I have like the tweet on this screen and I don't know how to get it onto this screen. And let's see if it comes up. Let's see if it's a Jake Tapper tweet. Jake Tapper. Hopefully there's no porn stuff that comes up. Okay, no, so it's not coming up. All right, well, well, now I'm just befuddled. I'm gonna read it from this screen then, and you'll just have to pretend like you're seeing it on the screen, like I'm a person who's good at this. White House officials believe that POTUS was infected at the event for Judge Barrett on Saturday, September 26th. They will not say when POTUS last tested negative, raising questions as to whether he was tested at all between infection and the debate Tuesday, September 29th. This is important. And then in part 2 of Jake Tapper's tweet, at Jake Tapper, of course, a political reporter, a New York Times reporter at Shearm. I don't know what his real name is. Michael D. Shear is his name, but his handle is at SHEARM at Shearm. Believes he got infected September 26th, either at the White House, required to go to get a COVID test because he was traveling with the POTUS, or on Air Force One with POTUS the night of Saturday, September 26th. The POTUS test negative that day, White House won't say. And now they're basically just asking, like, oh, is he, like, it's basically like a situation that maybe, you know, and if any of you out there dated casually at some point, you know, like anybody out there, you know, you're just kicking around, you're having some good times. And, you know, I think for both sides, you have to be diligent. You have to be aware of the idea that the person you're hooking up with is tested and clean and is good and is on the up and up, because that's it. You know, that's the trust that comes with, I think, any sort of exchange. There has to be consent. There has to be the trust that the other person isn't going to leave you in dire straits. And hopefully, you know, that means that they're getting tested regularly. But sometimes things happen. You don't get tested. You don't get tested in between two partners, or maybe you do. And then, you know, the other person's like, hey, well, like, oh, we're, you know, this situation's happening. Like, when's the last time you got tested? And you're like, oh, yeah, like, listen, that seems sort of where President Trump landed. So that they're like, oh, when'd you get tested? You know, like, we're close, like, recently, and just relax. I can't do a Trump impression. I don't even want to embarrass myself to try it, but I've got a really fabulous impression. That's not the one. That ain't it. That's why I got to stick more to my Carl Urban, hey, it's a bunch of dirty soups out there with their filthy superpowers. I'm tired of, hey, I'm on the boys. And that's how you really cement an impression. So you tell people who the character is, or at least strongly imply what they're from. And that's the distillation of my Carl Urban impression. If you're a filthy soup, don't you dare hit that like button and subscribe. I only want the boys to hit like and subscribe on this video. Also, a little bit of Crocodile Hunter, perhaps. Either way, that's an impression you could set your watch to. My Donald Trump one, not the best, but I just think it's funny that, like, our president's just like, hey, yeah, like, I got tested. I can see my Bill Clinton's okay. Yeah, baby, don't worry, I got tested. Yeah, I put it in there. No, so that's an impression I guess I can do. And then I don't think I don't have a W in there, so unfortunately, can I do a Barack Obama? I don't know. I can't get canceled on your first YouTube video. That's the downside. No, and this time I swear to God, I'm gonna fucking stick with it. It's not gonna be like those other times on this channel where I pop a video up and I quit. I'm gonna fucking put these goddamn videos up. I swear to God. So fucking help me God, I will fucking videos up. I guess that's another part I should say too, that I should have probably said up top. Every Wednesday will be when I do these. So every Wednesday right now, I guess barring some of the job situations I'm talking to, maybe that could change things. But that's my goal, to get these out every Wednesday with a minimal amount of editing and a minimal amount of me getting canceled. The barest minimums amount of me getting cancelled is what we would say. And when I like to put a fun accent on it. So this is a video that I wanted to talk about because honestly, I just find it interesting, and it was like a weird one. And I feel like all these sort of awkward situation type things. I also have to remember that I'm still on camera, even though I just went on a screen share, because, like, you know, you could still see me, but I can't see me seeing me right now. So that's gonna. Also, I did smoke a little bit of weed for. Cut me some slack. You can see here, No Jumper getting gigantic views on this video. Because awkward situations. People always. One of my theories about internet content for years and years and years is that People just want to see these awkward things that they wouldn't see otherwise. There's a voyeurism thing to internet content. And it's been, I'll give it out for free. One of my pet theories about internet content is that people either want to be, they want to be titillated. They want to see something they're not supposed to see. I mean, and that could be violence. That could be an awkward thing. That could be, like the fappening type stuff. Like people just want to see something they're not supposed to see. That's a big part, I think, of content. And it should be informative and it should be entertaining. And that's sort of basically the things that will get people to click. But those are more guideposts for what you want the content to be. The point being is people just want to see shit like this where it's like, ooh, like why is she being so weird? Why is she being so awkward? So I'm going to click the video and play it and hopefully I'll check that the audio is coming through.
Blac Chyna on the show. I can't believe it. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
You finally decided it was time to come through?
Exactly.
Right. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
What's going on?
I mean, I'm living my life.
Kind of hard to just go out and be,
No, I still go out.
You do?
Mm-hmm. I'm still happy. I'm happy.
Right.
A happy woman.
You so funny. Hi.
Me specifically?
Yeah, you funny, but yeah.
What's funny about me?
Yeah, I don't know. You're just funny.
Are you triggered?
Yeah, I am.
This edit too. I don't think it was. This isn't on
You're
the No Jumper
disgusting.
YouTube that did this edit.
Precisely. Yo, you so funny to me.
Okay.
Come with it.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Damn. Come with the next question.
Okay. What's going on? You just you're pushing this music side of things.
I like her hair.
What is he talking about? I'm lost. You're weird. Hey, guess what?
Yeah. What?
I'm out.
You're out?
Yeah.
Just trying so hard to be dramatic. To be clear, she didn't actually disappear into thin air like that in real life. I just want to note that was a little bit of a dramatic flair by @Y, I guess, who did this. Actually, the real one too was not much better. Let me just open in this fucking little version. I don't need the little version. What's your little ass version, YouTube?
Just overdosed on cat.
He asked about
No,
Soulja
just
Boy,
like
which
you
I don't
keep,
know
like,
what the deal is with that.
Being weird.
But this is what the people want to hear about.
Nah, but it's just weird. I'm out.
Okay.
So she didn't disappear. You can confirm she didn't just disappear into smoke.
Appreciate you, Blac Chyna. Damn.
Classy way to handle it.
Couldn't get the Soulja Boy question through.
That's the thing though, is like, and that's something I actually might tell them, is that like, I think they should have like stuck with that a little more, like let the moment kind of linger, give the follow-up, like record her coming out. I'm a little surprised they wouldn't do it that way, but let me go back to me. So yeah, I think that's it's just a weird one. I don't know. I just wanted to share that because like I enjoy that kind of clip a lot. And then usually I'll have a take. Like I don't really like I don't know, Blac Chyna Soulja Boy. I almost spelled Soulja Boy like Soldier Boy, like little Soldier Boy. Oh, okay. He had a vulgar tweet after they broke up. Oh, this is one. Okay, this is one I probably should have pulled up. Hold on, because I don't want to like read this one fully. Let me. Black. There we go. Okay. There you see they had a name, Blac Chyna, which, okay. It's one of those couple nicknames, of course, that was near and dear to many of our hearts, Blac Chyna. Sad to see them call it quits. A couple called it quits after just a few weeks of dating. The rapper confirmed the breakup on Twitter with an NSFW tweet. Retweeting an article about the split, Soulja Boy wrote, "I just wanted to see what the P felt like." And to be clear, it's blurred out P, not like PEE. He didn't want to see what the urine felt like. But he later apologized for the tweet. "My apologies to Blac Chyna and my fans for the previous tweet. Blac Chyna and I have a mutual friendship. Nothing more, nothing." So, seemed like, I guess I could get why she got a little mad about it, but it was there is like a whole 20-minute video. You can look it up on the No Jumper YouTube channel of them talking to Blac Chyna. But yeah, that's just wanted to see what the that's Soulja Boy. I mean, look, he was always claimed that he's been Soulja Boy and them hoes I feel like that is something that that a guy who's been Soulja Boying hoes would say. I don't know why. What, like you can't expect him to. What is a leopard gonna change his stripes? What is a Soulja Boy? The thing is, like, I could pause right now and drink this water, but I'm gonna make you all watch me drink this water. That's some good water. I think that's. I think hydration is important, and I won't stand for any anti-hydration propaganda. That's like the There's like some weird subreddit about. Let me see if I can. Well, I'll pull up the screen share and see if I can find it. There's like the water drinking subreddit, which I feel like is people posting memes about drinking water. Also, every time I have to pull up this this fucking search thing, I'm like, oh, please don't show the degenerate porn. I have, because Google Chrome ports it over. Like, I don't. This PC that I use is just for production stuff. But Alex is signing. I don't want the girlfriend signing. Oh, also, I guess well, now you know our emails. So that's helpful. I'm very good at that. There's he's drinking water out of a Coca-Cola glass. Let's see. These are just the HydroHomies, but I'll look up the top ones of all time so you can maybe get a better read about these guys. George Kent rocking the 64-ounce Nalgene during impeachment proceedings instead of the provided 8-ounce bottles. Absolute power move. So I guess, yeah, so they're just into people drinking water. So shout out to all the HydroHomies out there on Reddit. This is... It's honestly baffling, the things that are on Reddit sometimes. Like that is fucked up though. That they're like, it is fucking disgusting because they're doing the drinking water bit, but it is kind of fucked up that cops were just destroying water bottles. Like I said, not gonna get political here. Besides talking about our president spreading coronavirus like syphilis, but I think protesters should be allowed to have water that they brought. I don't think the cops need to destroy it. Forget Xanax. We're all about that hydration. We need to talk about our generation Xanax problem. We're done doing Xanax. We have drinking water now. Catch up. So there you go. Anyway, point being, our shout out to the HydroHomies out there. I just needed to show this because I haven't looked at this in a while, and it's like, yep, okay, that is a weird thing that actually does exist and wasn't me just imagining. That's as happens sometimes. Sometimes I have these fever dreams that feel very real, and or you just go to bed a little too much of the sticky icky in you, or a little too much of the IPAs in you, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, fuck, man, now I'm dreaming about guys who really like drinking water on Reddit, and it turns out they're real. So there you go. Go to your r/HydroHomies to get all of your hot water drinking memes. It's probably the thing that's fucked up because it is the internet. It's like that's probably some propaganda for something. It's like for there's some clean water initiative that's behind it, and it's like somehow an evil clean water initiative. That's just what happens in all these things. Like, shout out to the show Utopia on Amazon Prime. I talked about that in the podcast, the audio version of the podcast last week, but one of my stronger recommends for shows that have come out recently, if you're looking for something to fill the time. Conversely, couldn't get into Fargo, which kind of surprised me. Couldn't get into the Chris Rock season of Fargo with Jason Schwartzman. At least the first episode, it was just slow, and I just wasn't there. I feel like that and Lovecraft Country is one that I keep watching, and I like something about it, but I just don't. I feel like just don't like the overall thing. And anyway, neither here nor there. I don't want to talk too much TV this week because I feel like with the YouTube audience watching, or at least watching the YouTube audience landing on this video, disliking it, and then leaving quickly. I guess don't want to spend too much time talking nebulously about TV shows with just a general guideline of I like it's pretty good. Like if I'm gonna do a TV show, I have to do my full deep dive on here now because the pressure is on much more than it was with just me recording in a GarageBand. But one thing I wanted to talk about here, and you can see, let's see if I could give you show you the layout here. So you can see this is my little studio area. You can see there's also, now you can see one of the computers too. So you can see the computers, there you go. Painting over there. But basically where this guitar is, where this painting is, where this green screen that's standing up is in a little bit is going to be, and by the way, in a little bit, I mean like in a couple weeks. Also I have to now awkwardly flip the camera. What did I do? I completely... Oh God, this is why you can't trust me to do anything. I moved the camera for a second, and now it just feels off to me, and I don't know. I can't focus. So this is terrible. Anyway, where all that stuff is, eventually I guess I have to hang up these paintings instead of just sitting here. We moved in the second week of July, I guess, and yeah, I've not. Now 3 months in, I still I feel like this should be more of a studio setup, but I still haven't fully committed to to where I am right now. Like, this is the best place for me to record and feel like it looks good and like, and it, you know, it looks like a lived in area or whatever. Like, this is the best spot for me to record. But at the same time, like, I do want it to look kind of like, you know, like a TV studio would look, or like a whatever, you know, like, or, you know, any, like, you know, like the Pat McAfee setup would look, or, but not quite, because I'm not going to, he put in like millions of dollars to that look like really good. Probably not millions, but like probably a good million, I think, to build out that office of his, where like it was built to look amazing and to be an amazing professional setup. Whereas for me, clearly, where I just have to move the camera around with my hand, as you can see me be confused and unhappy with how it's sitting. Not quite the exact same thing, I think, for me. Yeah, like where that stuff is going to be a Peloton. And I think this is something for me that I maybe will it be relatable to a lot of people out there. Maybe it won't, but I know a couple of my friends have gotten exercise bikes, and for me, like, just not having the gym has been the single biggest downside. Obviously, the pandemic's got so many terrible things, but for me, on a personal level, like the one thing that crushes me over and over again, and it's not even the fact that, like, hey, I left a job, now it's gonna be harder to find a job because of the pandemic. Like, yeah, that fucking sucks. But what sucks more is that I can't go to the fucking gym and balance out my terrible eating habits, my terrible drinking habits, all these things. Because, like, I would go to the gym every day. Like, I go lift. Even when the gyms reopened during the pandemic here in LA, they've not been open for a couple months now, but had a period where they had reopened, and then the guidelines were you had to wear your mask, you had to be distanced, you had to, at one point they were like, you have to wear latex gloves too, and then the spread was still too bad, so then the governor of California, I believe, shut down all the gyms again, and since then our gyms have been down. And like, I'm fucking lost without being able to go to the gym, not because like I'm in such amazing shape, but because like I feel like I degenerate into just this, again, this OnlyFans friendly B cup situation that's going on right now. And it's driving me insane, but I'm hoping everything in my life I'm pinning to this Peloton being here. So once this Peloton is here, I feel like it's going to be like the thing that changes everything. And two, because of that, like, I'm ready to embrace the cult aspects of it. Like, there's some like a short movie on Hulu. It's part of their Huluween thing where it's called, I think it's called Ride. Yeah, I think it's called Ride. And it's basically about a girl going to her first spin class, and perhaps the spin class is not what it seems, and whatever. And basically, it's like, you know, it's making fun of the cult aspects of these spin classes, of the, you know, of the soul cycles of the world, all that. But for me, like, I just having a cardio thing in here, like, we have small weights, like we have resistance bands, but, and I even had a period in the beginning of quarantine, like, where I was like doing burpees every day and hit the 30-day window, and I was like, burpees hurt and I'm tired of doing them. It's like, you just, your hand hitting the floor over and over again, it just sucked. So basically I gave up on the burpees, and now I'm just like pinning everything in my life. Like, the Peloton is going to single-handedly fix everything in my life, because I can work out. I can, my girlfriend will not allow me to ride it unless I get the actual spin shoes that like clip in. So that's stupid, and that's something I'm gonna have to deal with. I'm making it sound, when I say that's something I have to deal with, that makes it sound like I'm going to abuse her. No, in fact, I'm just going to get the shoes that she demands I get, and hopefully be allowed to use the bike that she's now paying for. But and I'm also not chipping it on. So I'm saying that quietly in the hopes that she doesn't hear it in the other room. I'm not chipping in a little bit. But hoping, I don't, you know, look, I don't have a job. So what are you gonna do? Hey, what are we gonna do? Hey, what are we gonna do? I'm Bill Clinton, okay? What does call him and think about the situation? He's not very happy about it. See, that's one of those that normally I would have probably cut out of the podcast, but that's the live to tape world, baby. I gotta not do Carl Urban voices and make my throat too hurty. All right. There you go. I think we've, like, for a first video, this is probably enough. So I'm gonna tap out here with the Peloton thing being the one. That's the cliffhanger. That's the one that you have to look forward to in future episodes. You'll hopefully you'll see me like get fatter and keep eating pretzels for the next couple weeks, and then hopefully we'll start to make like a downturn with the Peloton. Just, I was also looking at my arm and the thing to feel like, oh, remember when there used to be like biceps here? And now it's just like the Bugs Bunny, that's worth pulling up. Maybe that's what I'll call it quits on pulling up the Bugs Bunny arm thing. In case you don't know HydroHomies, and in case you don't know Bugs Bunny arm flex. Oh, there, well, you get the gist from that one, but oh, this is just oh, there we go. I thought it was just gonna be him flexing in perpetuity. Oh. That's actually, you might not be able to see that one because of the way that I line up the screen. So one more time for everybody in the back. So that's me. That's how I felt in this one particular situation. Either way, if you watched until this point, bless your fucking heart. Thank you for doing that. Again, I'll be back next Wednesday around the same time, Wednesday morning on the West Coast / afternoon on the East Coast. So this is my record time that I'm going to hold myself to, because it's all about the process of doing something every week or every scheduled time. And I don't know, maybe I'll get motivated and do more vlog type stuff too. I know that's probably the better move for me, to actually try to get views instead of just putting this out here and praying that it's not terrible. But odds are that's life. Anyway, hit the like button if you're watching it, and subscribe, of course, and don't unsubscribe. Please. I honestly prepare. Honestly, it should just be, I should just embrace it and like embrace the bit and just be like, and this week 1,000 people unsubscribed because they wanted to see, because they were here for Katie Nolan looking her most nubile, or I don't know. Oh, that's a terrible. I'm sorry, Katie. Katie Nolan, like they want to see her like before she was like on ESPN, before she got famous and it's on this channel, and then they're like, oh, now all this, like, oh God. And knowing just how creepy dudes on the internet are, like, and I'm sure Katie knows as much as anybody. It's just some dude spanking it to an old Katie video of like one of the ones where she was like didn't have air conditioning in her apartment and is like glistening, and then the guy's gonna see the next video and it's just gonna be like, oh no, I call him an president. And that guy's gonna be gone real fast. But either way, you're not gone, so thank you for watching, and I'll be back next Wednesday. So enjoy your weeks, and don't catch the Roni, and if you do, get tested. Don't spread it around like so many syphilises. Okay, bye guys.